like, it's been a long time, but we were just here a week ago.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I have to tell you, so Margie Alfonso was here last week.
Oh, yeah.
So she calls me this week and tells me that she wants to do a radiation check in my office here.
Oh.
In our studio.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so she comes in yesterday and she tells me she wasn't feeling that well. And she thinks it's because she was here last week. So she comes in with this, I don't know if it was a Geiger counter or some kind of machine. And so she walks in my office and the thing was just going off the charts. And she's walking around and she's, okay, I'm getting out of here. She goes running out the door. So apparently we are sitting in Chernobyl.
We are radioactive.
Yeah, we are sitting in Chernobyl. I mean, and I've been here now for like 10 years, over 10 years.
Oh, that explains it.
It's me. Yeah. She should have just put it up against me. And I should have left the room and it wouldn't have registered, but you put it up against me. I am the one who's radioactive.
Wow. But, it would have been cool if she could stay around and just you unplug your Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, no, but that's what she was saying. Yeah, she was saying that I need to go totally to wired everything, just wired a phone. My phone needs to go wired and I need to shut my cell phone off when I'm in here and all these things. She's saying we need to go to wired connections and get away from the 5G, the G period,
Yeah.
But anyway, it was kind of funny because we had just talked about it, but she wanted to come basically save my life. And she said it was pretty serious but I mean, I think she said that three radians or grams or whatever of radiation, whatever they measure it by, is where it starts getting dangerous. And I think I had 150,000 or something.
Well, you're in an office building with how many other tenants?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's all over the place here. Yeah.
And there's a cell tower just 2 doors down.
Oh, well, see, there you go. I'm just living on borrowed time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Anyway, I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
It is, and a mutual friend of ours, Margie and mine, Joe Esposito. So his health has been bad for like 15 years. Joe used to be on the state board of education. Frank Keating put him on there. He's a homeschool leader. And you think Ryan Walters is entertaining watching the drum. Joe Esposito, eventually Keating said, Joe, we're going to have to set you off for a little bit. He was just, because Joe's a take no prisoners kind of guy. But he was the first one to introduce me to that whole issue. And I think it's all kind of like aspartame, NutraSweet.
Yeah, right.
Some people just can't tolerate it. Some people have no problem.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to poo-poo the whole idea. No, I believe there's some validity to what she's saying. But, at the same time, we have to live our life. Yeah, what's always funny is like we talk about how dangerous smoking is, alcohol is, all of these things. Then they find some Russian guy who's 104 years old who smokes and drinks vodka every day. That he hunts cigarettes and vodka, and it's filterless cigarette. So it's just, you have people that have certain constitutions. And here's a sad story. I have one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He passed away. I guess it's been 3 years now. Wow, 3 or 4 years. And then his wife passed away the following year. Ooh. And what's sad about it is this: for probably 20 years, the wife had them on this strict diet.
Yeah.
I mean, they were eating bird food almost, and, no sugar, no this, no that. I mean, it was this total health food diet. Yeah. And both of them died of cancer.
Yeah.
Within a year of each other. And I remember about 2 weeks before my friend passed away, his wife told me, well, she let him, it's funny to say that she let him whatever he wanted. And she said he was just in heaven. It was like, instead of a last meal, it was the last 2 weeks of meals. But she said he was just eating all the fried chicken, barbecue, Rocky Road ice cream.
Right.
He could, he was eating all the things that he had given up for 2 decades, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, it just shows in essence, some people, you wonder, how in the heck are you still alive? Because their diet is just horrible. It's just the worst diet, and they're still kicking in the 90s or going to 100. And then you got other people that just do all of the health. My father-in-law, he was a totally health freak. He was totally into health and everything like that. And it turned out he had cancer and died of cancer. I'm finding it's almost like the people who follow these strict diets tend to die of cancer a lot, as much as the people who, are exposed to eating supposedly cancerous foods or smoking or whatever. And so I don't know. So I don't know what the secret is, what the triggers are for it. So I just try to stay in between. I try not to eat too much.
I think you're right.
Too little of this, too much of that. I try to, as you can tell, I don't,
it took you 70 some years to build that. Okay.
To build it. Yeah. I think I'll tell you one thing though. I do believe now, the one thing I will say, and that is heart. See, as far as cancer, it's a mystery. I don't think anybody knows whether you eat too much, too little, good, bad, ugly, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people really know what can keep you from cancer. I don't think anything keeps you from cancer necessarily. Okay.
I think we know some things.
Well, there's some things that may expose you to a greater risk, but at the same time, you may have the type of metabolism or the type of body that just doesn't succumb to it.
I think that's true.
But the thing that does succumb is the heart. Mm-hmm. That's the important one. The blockages, your arteries.
Okay. I got a headline on that.
Well, he's prepared.
Yes.
We didn't even discuss this, and he must be reading my mind.
Yesterday, the South Florida Sun-Sentinel released an article on a study.
Wow.
It says heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans. That's what your point was. However, having high cholesterol levels doesn't always lead to heart disease. And 2 days ago on Citizen Free Press, they mentioned a guy who ate 24 eggs a day.
Yeah.
And his cholesterol dropped 16 points.
Yeah. Now, see, what I've heard is that the egg whites neutralize the yolk.
Mm.
So if you eat a whole egg, then it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Because the white neutralizes the yolk. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Just like I neutralize you, right?
What do you say? I'm the yolk?
What a yolk. All right.
From now on, when we start, says, you're listening to Fresh Black Coffee with egg and yolk.
No, I got to say, just like soybeans, you know how there's estrogen in there, but if you eat the whole soybean, it neutralizes itself.
See, yeah, that's the thing. Because, like, one time, they're selling soy milk, which is good for you. Then don't eat soy milk.
Yeah.
You'll go nuts. If you follow all of these things that you're supposed to eat or not eat or whatever, you'll go nuts. You'll go insane. They
told us in the 70s, stop taking butter, use margarine. Then we find out that the hydrogenized stuff is worse than cholesterol.
But butter's the best thing for you.
Yes.
In fact, Dr. Atkins, that's the other thing. Dr. Atkins, when he wrote his book,
the protein diet.
Right. And but he called it the what is it? The diet revolution, something diet revolution. But I have to tell you, no one has ever improved on his diet. Mm-hmm. And don't be fooled. All these other diets, it's just his diet with another name.
Yeah.
The South Beach, the this, the that. The one I like is called I want to call it the Sabbath, but it's it's one Pat Campbell got me on, and I cannot think of the name of that right now. But the way it works is this. It's Dr. Atkins.
Yeah.
So for 7 days, you eat a low carb diet.
Right.
But then on the 8th day, I think it's the 8-day diet or something, 8 days something. Anyway, but what happens on the 8th day, you splurge.
Okay.
So everything you weren't allowed to eat for those 7 days, on the 8th day, like about noon or 3 in the afternoon until you go to bed at night, whatever time that may be. Maybe it's late, it's 11 or midnight. You eat all the donuts, ice cream, pancakes with syrup, Coke.
Yeah.
You name it.
As long as you're not a diabetic, right? Because that'll kill you.
Probably. But I don't think, because apparently if you listen to Dr. Atkins and others, if you're on the low carb diet, it will actually take you out of the diabetes.
Yeah, the insulin roller coaster.
Right. It will pull you out because it just does something to your metabolism.
Well, you're not relying on insulin as much.
Right.
Because you only need the insulin to metabolize carbs and sugars.
Well, thank you, doctor.
Okay.
You got me. I just follow the diet. But Carb Night. The diet, if you want to look it up, it's called the Carb Night diet. And I have to say, it's the best diet I've ever done.
Great.
And I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, in 6 weeks.
That's more than water weight.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these are just you lose your water weight.
Yeah. At first, I didn't think I was losing anything. Then all of a sudden, I got 2 weeks in and I had dropped 7 pounds.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just boom, started falling off.
Yeah.
And the hard part, and here's what's weird. I got to a point where I did not want, I actually didn't like sweets and things,
Yeah.
But after a while, you get away from it and you don't do it anymore. And then you slowly start getting yourself back into the bad habits.
Yeah.
But I've never gotten all the way back into the bad habits that I was before.
Yeah.
And it's a real, I got into it with Pat Campbell. Pat Campbell had the guy on as a guest and we talked to him. And that's how we came into some of you that remember the Pat Campbell show or were listeners, you may remember the guy that came on. It's called the Carb Night Diet. You can get it. It'll be online and it has recipes in the back, but he allows you more carbs than Dr. Atkins. He wants you to keep it under 20 carbs a day, 20 grams of carbs a day. This guy allows you to do 30 a day, but then on that 8th day, and then actually after a couple of weeks, you cut back to 7 days. I'm sorry, 7 days. And then 8th day is your splurge day, and then it goes back 6 days, and on your 7th day, and eventually you go back to 5 days low carb, and then the 6th day.
Yeah.
So, but I got to the point where I was no longer wanting sweets or anything like that.
Wow.
And I got into this healthy rhythm, and I really felt good, looked good, the whole 9 yards. So I can't recommend a diet more than that one. The low carb, it's called the Carb Night, NITE, Carb NITE diet.
Yeah.
But if you can probably find it on Amazon or just Google it on the line.
In last week's show, Marjorie kind of hit a little bit on that. We had the food pyramid back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And, my family doctor for decades, one of the top family practice doctors in Tulsa is Ed Rylander, family medical care. And he said, you take that food pyramid and flip it upside down and you might be better off to, use proteins, and it's okay to have some of the carbs and sugars.
Exactly. That's the key.
And because he said, he says, we don't turn fats consumed into fat cells in our body.
Right.
And that was in the 80s. In 90s, people stupidly thought that, and they would go on a total fat-free diet. Right. And I had neighbors that were sick for months before they realized.
Right. And you want the low fat this, low fat that, and you don't want, it's not the low fat. What you want is the low sugar. Yeah.
So what my neighbor, who literally started to manifest some serious mental health issues, and then found out his brain was starved of fats, and your brains need those fats.
Yeah.
to process everything else and stay healthy. And so it wasn't truly a mental illness in the chemical imbalance, traditional perspective, but got off of that. And what do you know? His health came back, and after spending millions of dollars, losing months off work and everything else. So I just want to say that is so crucial. If I could say one more thing, Rush Limbaugh was very upfront about his weight issues. The guy weighed like 300 and some pounds when I saw him in Oklahoma City. And he became one of the biggest proponents for the whole Atkins philosophy of diet. And later on in his life, Rush is a guy that, in my opinion, I would say he has an addictive personality. He goes from one thing to another. He smoked for a while, got off smoke. Then it was cigars. And he said when he went to see a good therapist, he found out the reason why he was eating the way he was. He associated being full with a mental state of well-being. And so he always wanted to be full. But he said, he could not successfully say he did the yo-yo dieting, the Oprah Winfrey lifestyle,
Luther
up and
Vandross.
down, And he said, if I wasn't well off enough to have a cook preparing my meals, I would not be successful.
Right, that was the hard part. Yeah, he had a chef. He had a private chef that would fix his food by the diet. And that's what he would eat. And see, that's a lot like what's the Nutrisystem? Nutrisystem is a very popular system with some people, but the thing I've heard is that the food's just not very good. It's not very delicious. Delicious is the word.
Yeah.
It might be okay, but people, we're used to good food.
Yeah.
I tell a story about when I was a kid, or when I was born. I was born, people, I have to tell you, I was born into poverty. We're talking poverty. And I talk about this often to people that, for me, a good sandwich, a good meal was not just a sandwich, a meal was German bread with butter, the old-fashioned German butter, and sliced radishes with salt on it. And that might be my dinner.
Yeah.
But still today, it's one of my mouth waters as I speak. Now, you may sit there and say, sliced bread, butter, and radishes, and that's it. That may not sound appetizing to you, but that's something that I grew up in my, from the time I was like up until 5 years old, because that's all we had.
Yeah, it was you and your mom in German housing that would probably be condemned by the American system.
Right, exactly. And then we'd have, I occasionally once a week, maybe I would get some cream of wheat. I would get a little bowl of cream of wheat or something. But here's the real key. The difference in fitness then and the fitness now is one difference, and that is the word fitness.
Yeah.
People used to work. And work was not sitting in front of a computer monitor, sitting, doing things, sitting.
Yeah.
People would stand. Like the gut. Basically, the biggest thing with people today is the gut and the butt. And that is because we sit on our butts and protrude our guts.
Well, you relax your abdominals.
Right. Exactly. And in the old days, people worked on their feet.
Yeah.
And I know people take, for example, I look at people still today. I see when someone comes into my office and they're thin, I automatically know that they work on their feet.
Yeah.
They're either in construction, they work in a warehouse doing things, or, just different things. Yeah. They work on their feet. And you can just tell.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem is that we sit too much. And then even in the evenings, we don't go to bed as early as we used to. So people used to come home and they'd be tired from work. They may read a little, or they might read in bed in a horizontal position. But nowadays, what do? We come home, we eat, and then we sit in the easy chair on the couch, and we watch TV for several hours after we eat. and sitting there, everything, it pushes your stomach out and your butt. So these are the different factors. I mean, honestly, Dave, being in shape is not rocket science. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like there was a book I read once, and it was talking about the Christian walk. Mm. It's not, what is it? It's not complicated. Mm-hmm. It's just hard. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference. You just got to know the difference mm-hmm. between complicated and hard, mm-hmm. right? And for example, understanding basically following God, mm-hmm. following the Bible, following the Lord's will. Yeah. It's not complicated. Well, it's just hard. It's just hard.
You and I think both have found in our own walk a balance between what I'll call Pentecostalism and Baptist. Because the Pentecostalists are about how high you can jump, and with Baptists, it's about how straight you can walk. And you need to jump a little, and you need to walk straight. And I'm sorry, I've got off on a tangent there.
Yeah, but it fits, and so we all, for example, we're off on a little tangent, but yeah, so we all know, thou shalt not lust, thou shalt not.
Jesus talked about gluttony.
Gluttony. Don't covet mm-hmm. your neighbor's goods. Right. The wife. Don't do that. All the things. Honor your mother and father. Mm-hmm. We know those things, and that's not complicated, right? But it's hard to do.
It's discipline.
It's discipline. Yeah, it's hard to do. When your mother tells you. Or your dad tells you, I want you to go down here and you're in the middle, I'm going to use today's, you're in the middle of a computer game or you're in the middle of some football game or something, or you want to talk to your girlfriend, but your parent tells you to do this or this mm-hmm. and you don't want to do it. You have two choices. You can honor your father and your mother mm-hmm. or you can dishonor them. Mm-hmm. And so, just different things like that, So, like I said, everyone knows that you're not supposed. We used to know you're not supposed to lust after another woman and somebody else's wife, but not lusting after somebody else's wife is a little more difficult than just hearing it and knowing it. See, and that's the difference. Or thou shalt not steal. I remember when I first got saved, this is one of my confessions, and somebody will probably try to use it against me in the campaign.
Oh, here we go. Get your record button on.
These are things that I honestly, it's no joke, I got saved from, okay?
Yeah.
One of the things, okay, kleptomania. I was a kleptomaniac.
5-finger discount.
5-finger discount. Yeah. And what do you think? I was not a big, mm-hmm. So for example, so I remember it hit me. I was in the PX, military PX.
Right.
And I'm standing in line to check out.
That's kind of their shopping mall. For people who don't know.
Right. The PX, Post Exchange, or the BX, the Base Exchange.
Right. Where you buy stuff on base.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm standing in line checking out, and I look down, and it was honestly like the devil or something, telling me, look at that, take it, and I had this urge to just take this, whatever it was, the 5-finger discount, stick it in my pocket. Nobody would have known. They would. And I don't recall having to fight against something as hard as I did with that one battle. Mm-hmm. I think I was a Christian maybe a week, 2 weeks. And it was literally, and so what I ended up doing, I ended up sticking my hands in my pocket.
There you go.
And just looking straight ahead the whole time until I got up there. Because I had put all my stuff, that was my stuff. Yeah. But my hands, I put them in my pocket, and I had to grip my teeth. And I went through, paid for and got out, and boom, it was gone.
Wow.
Never again. I've not been tempted. Another time, being an insurance adjuster, I used to deal with money and have, and this thing came of taking taking some money. I can't remember. I don't remember what it was or whatever. And it wasn't a lot. It was just but it was just that temptation to cheat. It was cheat my employer basically. And I resisted, and boom, it was gone.
Yeah.
But so, like I said, it's not that it's like complicated. We know.
Yeah.
Right. What does it say? The law is written on our hearts.
Right.
It's written there, but the ability to do it, that's the key. It's not easy. And that's what Jesus died for, really.
So the word disciple is the same root word that we get discipline.
Right.
Hello, you want to be a disciple? Be disciplined. That's essentially it in a nutshell.
But again, it sounds nice and easy.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
Of course it's not.
Right. So that's why we have fellowship, we have friends, and it starts in little things. I used to teach. In fact, it's funny you mentioned discipline. I have a whole seminar I did on discipline, discipleship and discipline, and it has stages of how you do it and everything like that. But yeah, you're right. Discipleship is discipline and how you achieve it and all that.
Accountability is also one of the tools that we can set in place. I remember, running a chain of stores, family-owned business, but I was kind of the outsider that they hired in to work with the two sons. And I got off the phone one day. It was a supplier wanted to supply different things that we needed for all of our stores. And he wanted to know my home address because he says, we will be sending you a check for loyalty or patronage. And I stopped. I'm thinking about it. I says, he's offering me a kickback to have him be the supplier at inflated prices. And I get off the phone and I go right on over to one of the sons who's, I answered to. And I said, hey, I just want you to know what phone call I just got. A guy was offering me a kickback if I would order a lot of our store supplies through him at inflated prices. And he's kind of looking at me. I said, I need you to know that he just tried to get me to do that. And the best way I can avoid temptation is let you know that that's something you have to be aware of people like me being able to do. I basically said, hey, keep an eye on me. and then when I would hire store managers, I remember from some of our seasonal outlet stores, I always said the same thing. I had down to routine. I said, no, we hire you because we believe in you. And you are so valuable to us that we're going to check up on you. We're going to check your numbers, check the deposits, everything, because all of us are capable of being tempted and all of us can fall if given enough temptation. And we value you too highly to subject you to too much temptation. And it was a kind of a way of saying, you are so valuable that I'm protecting you from temptation.
Right.
And they didn't feel insulted if you say it right.
Right.
And that's the way we need to do, instead of talking down to people and acting like, especially our kids, our spouse or whatever, is let them know they're so valuable that we are going to provide this accountability for them.
No, you're right. And like I said, this has been like, 50 some years ago.
Yeah.
That I dealt with this. And like you said, the accountability, my first pastor, when I first got saved, that's who really helped me with a lot of this, because I would run to him, I'd go to him. Yeah. All of us did, because we were all pretty much kids, 20, everywhere from like 16 to 22, and I think I was 21 at the time, and I would go to him. But, it's funny because he told me, at the time, I guess he was probably in his 40s, and Fred was his name, and Fred said, and what's weird, the relationship changed later after a couple of years, and the trust grew. It went two ways. And he told a group of us, the young guys, Jesus Revolution. Our church is a product of the Jesus Calvary Chapel, and ours was an offshoot.
70s
Jesus Chapel,
Jesus Kids, yeah,
Jesus Chapel was ours. But anyway, so and he came in and said, you guys need to pray for me. I'm going through these temptations and this and this. And of course, you, Fred, you know, and he said, oh yeah, he said, oh, and what was interesting, he said, I hadn't dealt with this or haven't had this type of temptation in 30 years, and it's come back. This, you know, I thought I had overcome this or dealt with this, but now I, you know, and it just let me know that what's the scripture? I think it's 1 Corinthians 10, let him who think he standeth take heed lest he fall.
Sure.
And so that's something we need to be aware of, that we can't ever become complacent thinking we've arrived, you know, we're above it all. But yeah, when Fred told us, and it made us all be aware that we have to continue the fight. Yeah. But it was just good. We were really tight. I mean, all of us, in fact, it's so funny because, and so good because I'm still in touch. We're all still in touch with that whole group of, and, you know, several have passed away. Others, you know, a few have fallen away. Yeah. But the bulk of them, we're all still walking with the Lord. Yeah. And it's funny, we all see things the same way. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah. We all see things the same way, politically and everything. Politically and everything. It's really, and you know, we're not in touch. We live in Texas, in California, Florida, up north, you know, south, all over the place. And we come into contact and you see on Facebook or wherever you happen to run into each other or communicate again. And man, when you read the posts and the things, I mean, people still walking fervently for the Lord and politically see things so different from the world. And it's kind of, that's refreshing, but it's so sad to see the way others, believers, especially Christians, that you just shake your head and you ask yourself, how in the heck did you get to believe what you believe, or to see how that you can't see this as, and that, you know what I'm talking about. You probably read it and see these people that you know should know better, yet they've got these weird ideas and are following. It just baffles me that you can have people that want to be so spiritual, yet they think that following Biden and Harris or Harris and Waltz is superior to following Trump and Vance. Right. You know, and you like me and everybody I know, we know and we will admit that Trump has faults. Oh yeah. Vance has faults. These are not perfect people, but we're not following that. Jerry Falwell put it so well. He said, we're not electing a deacon. We're not electing a bishop. Right. We're electing a president to lead our nation. Okay. I liken Donald Trump to Nebuchadnezzar, right? Darius, Cyrus, Xerxes, people that God used to save his people. Yeah. They had faults. Sure. And, but the other side, they're looking for something else. And that's when you know, a false savior. I would rather have a savior that has issues than somebody who covers their issues and tries to look good and talks good. But we know that the things that they're going to bring about will destroy an entire nation. Yeah, it's easy to let your politics encroach on your faith, you know, and whitewash your faith, and that it happened, and we all have to be careful of that. Right. You know, I've run into a lot of Republicans who are so offended at coerced and forced
charities, about, entitlements and all that. Phil Graham back in the 90s running for president, he had a slogan. He says, it's time some of those riding in the wagon got out and helped push the wagon, but you can't get so cold that your heart of compassion for people in need. There is a personal obligation to be giving, but you don't bastardize it into compulsed, forced government, throw you in jail if you don't.
Exactly. That's what I always say. I have a slogan, the difference between a Democrat and a Republican is a Republican, or no, I don't want to say Republican, excuse me, a true conservative and a liberal. Yeah. I don't want to make it big because I don't want to throw all Democrats under there are some good Democrats out there, okay, and there's some bad Republicans. So let's say conservative and a liberal. Yeah. Or progressive.
I'd say left. Yeah, progressive. That's a good word.
Right. So a true conservative sees a need and says, what can I do to meet that need? A progressive sees a need and says, what can I do to get everybody else to take care of that need? Yeah. That's the difference. That it's not about what am I going to do? It's about what am I going to get everybody else to do? They feel a compulsion to make everybody else take care of what they don't want to take care of themselves and get them all involved. And so, it's a lazy way of doing things. And what it does, it lessens what they have to do. So instead of me giving up on my millions, billions, thousands, whatever I've got, I just have to give a small portion and then I'll get everybody else. And then I can feel good about myself. Look what I did. I got everybody to do this. When all you did, where Sister Susan over here may have given 50% of her little that she had because she was so moved. And I gave like 1% of what I had, but I feel good about, look at what I did because I got all these people involved. And so to me, it's the hypocrisy of the progressive movement.
Will Rogers said it best. And, he was an Oklahoma Democrat who was very conservative. He says, I can remember a time when a liberal was generous with his own money.
That's good. Yeah, that nails it. Yeah. So anyway, that's just a little bit of philosophy from Fresh Black Coffee. Or a little bit of Fresh Black Coffee from Dave and Eddie. Yeah,
I hear you've been discovered by some leftist media in Tulsa.
My goodness. Yeah, it's on now. It's real now. The campaign is real. There's I didn't even know this thing existed. The Black Wall Street Times.
Okay.
You would think the Black Wall Street Times would be run and have writers that are black. Yeah. That's what I would assume if it's Black Wall Street,
Aren't they?
Well, not the one who wrote this article.
Oh, really? Somebody got to know you? Did they sit down and have an interview?
Nope, no interview.
No. Are we talking about Nate Morris?
Yes, Nate is his name. We will name.
Tell us about Nate Morris. Let's make.
Well, somehow Nate got a hold of some old, all the way back to 2015.
Is he a brother?
I'm sure he's somebody's brother, but he's not mine, and he's not a soul brother, if you know what I mean. He's
a white leftist.
Yeah, he's what we used to call a fade.
Oh,
that was you people. It's funny. Black people have more names for you than you had. Yeah, for us. Fade, Patty Boy, Cracker, Honky, Chuck, Mr. Charlie.
Come on, I can take it.
Patty Boy. That's my favorite. Patty Boy.
Okay.
Patty. You Patty. White Patty. No, anyway. But anyway, so Nate decides to, and of course, he puts up there, District 7 candidate running against Lori Decter Wright. That's my opponent. So all of a sudden.
She's a sister, right? Lori Decter Wright?
Probably somebody's sister, but she's not a soul.
She's not black.
She ain't black.
No, she's a liberal white woman, well-educated from San Francisco.
Well, I think San Jose, but the Bay Area.
The Bay Area.
Might as well, the same area. Yeah. So anyway, but these people, but I've been discovered. Yeah. So, but as the Japanese said after Pearl Harbor, they've awakened a sleeping giant.
Okay.
I'm coming for you now.
Okay, Nate Morris.
I've been trying to lay low. I've been trying, not just Nate. I'm coming after Laura. I'm coming for you now.
Tell us what Nate discovered about you.
Well, apparently he discovered some Facebook posts that I had years ago. Actually, I was still on KFAQ at the time, actually, I believe. And apparently it was right around the time of the shooting in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes.
You remember at the Black Church?
Roop?
No. Yeah. Dylan Roof.
Dylan Roof.
Roof.
Dylan Roof.
Dylan Roof.
And he's a white guy who went and shot up some black folk at a prominent black church.
A bunch of black ladies, actually, at a prayer meeting, Wednesday evening prayer meeting.
Yeah.
And so Dylan decided to say that I apparently...
Not Dylan, Nate, right?
I'm sorry, Nate. Yeah. Yeah. Nate, in his article, made it appear that I... Oh, no. I'm going to say it how he said it. Seemingly.
Yeah.
I seemingly approved of Dylan shooting up a black church. Now, I love this. You know, you throw the word seemingly, and I guess that's supposed to make you liable proof.
Yeah.
Because you put, the problem is most people reading, they never see the seemingly. All they see, Huff says. Huff, Huff.
Yeah, because the headline was more blatant, wasn't it?
Yeah. In fact, I should probably just see if I still have it here, because that would, darn it. Yeah, I can't.
While you're looking that up, let me just say the Black Wall Street Times kind of is one of those, urban black ethnic issues and stuff. And I'm sure it's served some great purposes.
Well, you would think so.
Yeah. But somehow, and maybe this have a token white guy. so Token Morris. Okay.
So here's the title of the whole article.
Okay.
I'm just going to hit all the... Well, okay, let me read. This is the main title. It is Candidates Posts Demean U.S. Soldiers Promote Confederate Flag.
Really?
Yeah, that's the main title of the whole article.
I've known you for 10 years, Eddie, and I'm just now finding this out about you.
That I demean U.S. soldiers and promote the Confederate flag. So that's the main. So I'm going to read you all of what they bolded throughout the article, the bullet points and stuff. So then you go down through it, and the next big bold point is that, if I can get to it, my God, Tulsa City Council candidate Eddie Huff praised the Confederate flag in multiple posts.
Really?
Okay, yeah. So I
want to hear these praises.
I know. Keep your finger on that, and then and let me see what the next one is, because I'm surprised I did all these things myself, because it's all news to me.
Nate, you journalistic giant, you! I am so amazed at what you're able to find on Eddie.
Oh, here's a good one. Huff claims on Aryan leaders and Confederate flag versus reproductive health care. Huff's claims on Aryan leaders and Confederate flag versus reproductive health care.
Okay, now reproductive health care, that's saving lives, right? Nobody's dying from reproductive health. Oh, the babies die. Forgot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are the big bullet points that he is supposedly hitting on in this. Anti-soldier pro-Confederate posts emerge with weeks to go in Huff's campaign for city council.
Okay, so he's the one labeling these things.
Yeah, yeah.
But where's his proof?
Well, apparently he goes back to 2015, and I don't know where he gets the Dylan Roof. Oh, I think the Dylan Roof one, that's one that really got me. I was trying to figure out, and then he says that on Dylan Roof, I think I'm trying to get to all this stuff.
We're trying, Nate. We're trying to find your evidence here.
Yeah, he says, wait, I'm almost there. I hate to. Killing, shooting 9 people. This manifesto in the week following South Carolina. Come on.
I'm sure you would have led with this if you had it, Nate.
Yeah, on July 3rd, 2015, 2 weeks after that, Huff began making bizarre posts praising the Confederate flag.
Still no evidence, just insinuation.
In a post, candidate Huff seemingly defended his decision to make the Confederate flag his Facebook cover photo. And
really?
Yeah, what he's talking, and I did that. Now, I never called it a Confederate flag.
Right.
I called it a rebel flag. And what I was saying, and as I recall, I was still on KFAQ at the time. Mm-hmm. And on the KFAQ, what I talked about was that that what it was when I was in college, my freshman year, I was young and dumb. And this is what's so weird about it, okay? This is what's so weird about this whole thing, talking about trying to tie me to the Confederacy, okay? But at that time, I was a young Democrat and a young rebel, okay? And I was very anti-Republican. I was a progressive. I was a hippie. I was all of those things. And in fact, I was speaking out against the establishment. I mean, you can go back and check. I was a dope smoking freak, had hair out to here.
Yeah.
And so what I did, I had a jacket. I had a field jacket, the old Army field jacket. And I had a little rebel flag over here, okay? Yeah. Because at that time, it was more a symbol of rebellion.
It was, if you were a 70s hippie.
Right. It was a symbol of rebellion. Guys used to, the bikers had the rebel flag and all. Anyway, but what's funny about this one, I would have the rebel flag here on my chest. On my back, I had my entire back was a giant black power fist. Oh,
there you go. Was that okay, Nate?
So I had a giant black power fist on the back of it, the same thing. And
now, was this while you were in seminary?
I love you guys. No, this was at Texas Tech University.
Before you knew Jesus.
Before I knew Jesus. Yeah, I was a long way from Jesus back then.
Okay.
And I'm fighting. I was the first black student in my dormitory.
Really?
Yeah, I was the head. I was the vice president of the Black Student Union.
Okay.
Right. And
hey, there's a headline for you.
And I'm speaking, and so I'm wearing this jacket, speaking against Richard Nixon. I'm speaking, against the white establishment. Yeah. Right. I'm doing all of this, but Nate takes this and makes it look like I'm, some. Not, what is it? Daughters of the Confederacy or son of the Confederacy, right?
Okay.
That's because here's the deal. Let me just cut to the quick here.
Yeah, we're trying to help you, Nate, here. We got a lot of stuff we're dishing on.
You know what I wish? I mean, Nate, I don't know who you are from Adam. You've never met me. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. And neither does apparently Lori Dector Wright or any of the people who you talk to, because if you did, you would interview me.
Yeah.
At least I've got to give it to the Tulsa World. They actually interview me and ask me questions before they write these articles, but you've never done that. So if you knew anything about me and why I wrote or said the things I've said or have written, the blog post I've written, it's because I've actually lived through these times, okay? So anyway, I was a black radical in the late 60s, early 70s. I was the vice president of the Black Student Union. I advocated all kinds of stuff that I don't advocate now. I was the opposite exactly of what I am now. And I would have probably been on your side back then, actually, when I had the rebel flag on, which is what's weird. So if you want to think of something, my flag was actually on your side, not the other side. Which is, so that's what ticks me off about it. These people write this stuff and they have no clue. They're just so empty suits, dunces.
Lori Dector Wright's a Democrat.
Right.
The Democrats were the ones who were fighting against the black man's civil rights.
Right.
And why on earth, if Lori Dector Wright or Nate, if that applies to you, so be it. If you really stand on principle, you would disavow the Democratic Party as a pro-slavery party. Historically, that's who they are.
That's exactly. They were the slavery party. The Republican Party was founded to abolish slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Gore Jr.'s dad, Al Gore Sr., was one of the people that fought against the Civil Rights Act of 1965.
As a U.S. Senator.
As a U.S. Senator.
If the Republicans hadn't stepped up to help LBJ on that, the black man would not have the civil rights package that did pass there.
That's right. The Civil Rights Act of 1965 was nothing more than a repackage of the Civil Rights Act of 1958 by Dwight D. Eisenhower and the Republicans.
Yeah.
And the Republicans tried to pass like 8 anti-lynching laws from 1865 to 1965, and the Democrats filibustered every last one of them.
Yeah. And Lori Dexter Wright's still a member of this party.
Well, yeah. And they try to make us look like the bad guys.
Yeah.
And they try to make me look like, and this, I love this, which brings me to another point. My hero, Uncle Tom. See, you don't want to go there because the real Uncle Tom's, no, I'm sorry. I apologize, Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was a hero. See, these people apparently never read the book. Uncle Tom was a hero. The real characters are the people who put you up to this and the people who allowed you to write in a black paper or magazine called the Black Wall Street Times. Those are Sambo and Quimbo. If you read the book, find out who Sambo and Quimbo are. Those are the people that put you up to this. And that's
what book are you referring to?
Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Uncle Tom's Cabin. Read the actual book, folks,
yes,
before you allow a liberal white man to try to tell you, especially the black community in Tulsa, telling you what's good for the black man. This is what we have, people, is we got a white guy writing for the Black Wall Street Times, telling the black folk that Eddie's the enemy.
Right.
And somehow Lori Dexter Wright, the leftist Bay Area liberal white woman, the opera singer, is somehow the savior of the black.
Yeah, he also doesn't mention that right after this, me wearing this rebel patch he talks about, I was the vice president of the Black Student Union at Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. I was one of the founding members of the chartered chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity at Texas Tech. I can send you photos if you'd like them, Nate. I could go on and on, but I don't want to waste my time. There's another part of this article, and in it, he accuses me of attacking and disparaging the troops. Mm-hmm. Okay. Heroes, actually, as he would call it. But what he fails to, I don't know where this guy got his journalism degree. It must be out of a Cracker Jack box, is the only thing I can assume, because this is some of the most blatant yellow journalism I've seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. But essentially what he is talking about here is my discussion of John McCain back in the day.
Yeah.
And because I said I did not feel that John McCain was necessarily a hero just because he was shot down and a prisoner of war. Mm-hmm. To me, a hero is someone who goes above and beyond the call of duty. There were hundreds of pilots shot down in the Vietnam War. There were hundreds of, actually, I think 60,000 military members that were killed in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. My father died from Agent Orange exposure in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Was my father a hero?
He's a victim.
He's a victim. I do not wish to call my father a hero. I don't even elevate him to that role. Even though he served in Pleiku, which was on the front lines, and he used to go out and have to write the letters to the parents and the wives of those who died. Yeah. And so I know what Vietnam was like. I lived through the era. My dad helped the young men who were addicted to heroin in the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. He helped get them rehabilitated when others would try to get them dishonorably discharged. They would come to my father and he would help them instead get rehabilitated. Mm-hmm. We had young men come to our house many years later with their families just to come by and show their families and thank my father for helping them change their lives and so forth. So it really ticks me off for him to try to say that I would disparage the Vietnam War veterans, which is the farthest from the truth. In fact, the troops would come home after Vietnam and would be spit upon and called names and would be treated terribly. Most people would not come off the airplane anymore wearing their uniforms. They were so ashamed and so afraid that people like you, Nate, your predecessors who never fought, never went, never had the experience, would treat them so poorly. And so I have two of my friends that I was in the Boy Scouts with and grew up with were killed in Vietnam. One was my cousin in Philadelphia, was killed in Vietnam in the Marines in 1966, early on.
Okay, Eddie.
I'm sorry, I'm getting worked.
I need to say this for you, because listen, I've known Eddie for a long time. In the last years of Eddie's father's life, suffering from Agent Orange, it was Eddie and his wife who cared for his father. His father's a great role model to him. When his father died, he and his wife took his mother, his father's widow, into their home and cared for her. That woman never had to suffer the indignity of some of the worst nursing homes because they cared for their parents. Great role models. But his father was a victim. He appreciates what the word hero means. Just like the word racism gets thrown around and has become meaningless now, to the detriment of people who actually suffer racism.
Right. Because
it's thrown around. The word hero shouldn't be thrown around either. But the word victim has a proper meaning, and we need to acknowledge people who are actually victimized.
That's true. And to be honest with you, John McCain didn't become a hero until he became a friend of the left. It was when he started going against George W. Bush, when he was not friends with Trump. That's when all of a sudden he was elevated to hero status in your eyes. Mm. To me, that does not make a hero. You want to use people. That's what Democrats tend to do. Well, Eddie, now, in full disclosure, he was a hero of the left, except for from about January through November of 2008. Right. And he was the devil himself because he was standing in the way of their leftist hero, Barack Obama. Yeah. Do you remember they made up the lies? The girl that came up with the lie, or they came up with a lie about him having an affair with this lady. Mm-hmm. You remember that? Yeah, they came up with stories. Yeah, you're exactly right. This is the tactic of the left. And here's what's really funny, okay?
Yeah.
Every time a black man tries to run and is a threat, they pull this stuff.
Ah, the high-tech lynching, as Clarence Thomas called it.
Started with Clarence Thomas.
You're in good league, buddy. You and Clarence.
And what do they call it? High cotton?
Yeah.
So anyway, Nate, if you ever want to talk to me face to face,
there's your chair, Nate.
There's your chair, or I'll meet you at any place, and you can ask me any question you want. There's one more thing. They were talking about that I supported some Aryan group.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what happened. Back around the same time, a group of Aryan Nation people had decided. They announced that they were going to have a march in Toledo, Ohio. Okay. Mm-hmm. There were, I believe, 4 or 5 of these people. That's all. 4 or 5 people. And so they were going to march through the black community. Mm-hmm. What did the black community do? They rioted and destroyed a part of the black community. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a post called Pavlov's Negro. And what this post essentially said was that the black community has gotten to the point where they're so easily triggered, like Pavlov's dog, that anytime you mention Aryan, Ku Klux Klan, white racist, and now they've taken to the point you mention conservative Republican, the black community has been conditioned to think our enemy, we got to do something.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like this, Nate, that does it. Your type of writing does this. And because you've turned enemies out of people that aren't necessarily enemies. So what I wrote in Pavlov's Negro was that what happened by blowing this up, what really happened, the Aryan Nation guy achieved exactly what he wanted. They achieved what they wanted. They wanted to incite something in the community by just announcing that they were going to do it. And I guess there were 5 people. But that's it. There was no threat. They were never going to be a threat. Yep. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a whole marching through the Black community. They never actually did.
Yep.
We have photos. So what happened when I did this, I was shocked. Somebody told me that the Aryan leader read my article, and he did. He posted on my page. He said, "You are exactly right. That's exactly what I did. Mm-hmm. That's all I did." He posted that I nailed it, that he did exactly what I said, that he used the little, whatever Pavlov used. There's a dispute whether it's Pavlov's ringing a bell or whatever. But anyway, so that was my point. My point was not that I agree with some Aryan. That's ridiculous. I've never and never will agree with any white supremacist. In fact, there are more white supremacist Democrats than there are Republicans. Yeah. And I can show you proof if you're ever interested. I'll show you how they elected one to Congress, or were it, and the Republicans had to save, and this was in California. A Ku Klux, no, it was another Aryan Nation guy that the Democrats actually voted for, and this was in, I think, 1992. Yeah. And the Republicans had to save him. We usually do. We usually save them from these racists. It's the Democrats that are racist, and they and what they do, they use these things like this to basically use the Black community to do their work. Yeah,
I want to say something about the Black Wall Street Times.
Yeah.
They serve an important role. The history of what our great role model, Booker T. Washington, when he referred to North Greenwood as Black Wall Street, the business community, the wealth, the independence, the self-dignity of the Black man in Tulsa, these are things it's important to carry on that legacy. And I think the Black Wall Street Times plays an important role if they would focus on it. But instead, and I'm going to quote Clarence Thomas here, because this applies. Clarence Thomas said, "This is a circus. It is a national disgrace. And from my standpoint as a Black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity Blacks in any way who deign to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas. And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured by a committee of the Black Wall Street Times in this case. Black Wall Street Times, you're better than this. Step up. You can serve an important role."
I don't know if they are better than this.
I think I'm handing them a carrot.
Well, you're hoping, yeah.
Because I think it's important that there be a Black Wall Street Times that actually keeps a legacy of the great economic boom that Tulsa Black community really demonstrated to the world. So much that Booker T. Washington was impressed with it.
Yeah. And here's the other thing they don't know. Another thing you don't know, Nate, is that Booker T. Washington's great-granddaughter is one of my best friends. So, I mean, you're so off base, you're so ridiculous that if this were not election time and you weren't being used and put upon this by Lori Decter Wright and the Democrat minions, I wouldn't even give you the time of day.
Yeah.
But because it is this time, I need to respond. I'm responding. And if you want to meet me in person, you're welcome.
There's a chair.
There's a chair right there. Or I'll come where you are.
Yeah.
And I will if you really want to find out my true background, what I really have come through, what I really believe and think, then you're welcome. But don't pull this kind of crap, this kind of yellow journalism where you pull this and this and this and hodgepodge it together and make it say something that I never, ever intended. Because you don't know me. I don't know you. And so do not pretend to try to represent what I meant or what I said just by pulling little clips and then basically putting other words to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's enough. We don't need to waste any more time.
And I think, you know, Tulsans, you decide here.
Yeah.
You're free to read what Nate Morris thinks is Eddie Huff. And now you're hearing from Eddie Huff for yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it's good.
All right.
Yeah. You know, I put up a headline before we start the show, and sometimes I totally miss it because you know how we are wont to just kind of let the spirit lead us. But desperate people are doing desperate things. And that's what I think is really happening here. I'm seeing, remember at the beginning of the year, we saw all these lawsuits and Trump was going to be sentenced to prison before November, according to them. And they're all kind of falling apart. And I'm seeing a lot of narrative. I mean, look, Trump already defeated Joe Biden in one debate. Biden, who was the nominee, presumptive nominee, got all the votes. You know, before the Democrat convention, they threw him overboard. And now the person who had the worst public approval rating, they all of a sudden said she's hope and joy. And we're all excited. You know, this is so fake, so manufactured. And now it's fading off that little honeymoon kick she got. And yesterday, because she's so desperate, she finally, after being the border czar, in charge of border policy, she finally made it to the border, Eddie. So
yeah. And I mean, it's such a show. It's such a sham, you know. And I don't even know what to say at this point. I mean, if people truly can't see the difference in butter and margarine, you know, it just, I don't know what to say for this country. I think our country's done. I think, you know, we say that, I think we say this every time. This is the most important election of our lifetime. Well, of course, duh. But I mean, I'm beyond this is the most important election of our lifetime. I'm at the point of that if people can't see the difference, I know this is going to sound harsh, but it's almost like you don't deserve, you know, you deserve what you get. That's almost where I am.
Yeah.
Because and honestly, at some point they'll wake up. You know what it reminds me of? Okay. It reminds me of Nazi Germany. The people were so bamboozled and fooled by the Nazis and the propaganda and the way they controlled things and the way they manipulated things. Articles and things like Nate Morris's article, the way things were written, and it's not just Nate Morris. You look, and not just me, but you look at the big three: ABC, CBS, NBC, and others. The newspapers, everything you read, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the stuff that you and I see, and we just shake our heads, and you want to, but then. What I look at, like even on my campaign Facebook page, it's inundated with these. I'm sure the trolls and stuff, but the people who read these and the mindless robots. I mean, the people. I'm baffled, Dave. I'm just surprised that people either they're just playing the game or they don't care or. They're so full of hatred. They've been ginned up into such hatred for Donald Trump by the media that they're and what bothers me, it's a dangerous game.
It is.
And it's they want everyone to believe that you and I are dangerous. Trump is dangerous and his followers are dangerous.
Yeah.
So they're freaked out. But So, for example, what's crazy is, see, nobody wants to remember the riots that occurred when Trump got elected. Remember that? In Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't go into the Capitol, but all around the Capitol.
Oh, they damaged buildings, shops, cars.
But nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it. In fact, and then before the election last time, remember the police with rocks thrown at them. You got photos of bloody cops and using tear gas and everything. You know, you didn't have that. Even on January 6th, that didn't happen. They keep talking about so many cops were killed on January 6th. No cops were killed on January 6th. 5 or 6 officers died, but they were all after. They weren't caused by actual physical. Right. They had heart attacks. Some the weird thing, some had a reaction to the tear gas that was used.
That they were shooting up.
I mean, that's what's so crazy about it, right?
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, you and I, we believe this, you know, I believe it to be a fact that it was an inside job to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, what they call unindicted. How many were there? Like 100 unindicted co-conspirators that they know of, and that the FBI won't call in and interrogate or charge. That just obviously.
Right.
The main one is the guy that everybody's seen. He's all over the video trying to tell people, go in. And they don't do anything to him.
He got no prison time.
He did not. Not only did he get no prison time, he was never even charged with it. He never.
No, I think they came to some kind of a plea bargain settlement.
Not him. No,
really?
No,
okay.
Never, zero, zero. And yet, my brother from the Black Cuban. What's his name? You know, the head of the problem.
Enrique.
Yeah, Enrique Tarrio. Yeah. He's got like a 20-year prison term.
He wasn't even there.
He wasn't even there. Yeah, he wasn't even there.
He told Alex Jones, Alex reported on it after the rioting started. He said, Enrique left last night. He told me, this feels like a setup. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
And so he literally saw it,
right,
and said, I'm getting out of here. And they still went after him.
Right. They went after him. They arrested him and imprisoned him for 20 years. And he was there and told people, get away from it. Yeah. And yet he's in prison. The guy who's telling, open the gate, come on, go. We got to go in. Right. And the people are saying, he's a plant. He's a setup. He's a plant.
Yep.
And everybody knew it. People knew it, but FBI never thought it was important enough to talk to this guy. Right. So the thing smells to heaven, but the people, you can show that to these Democrat minions and they won't believe it. They won't buy it. The media covers it. They won't. They won't follow it.
The entire DC judicial system needs to be scrapped and rebuilt with people of integrity.
But it will never happen.
I know.
It can't happen.
Well, Congress needs to reassert control over DC. They've handed it off to self-governance to a great degree.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's true.
And this is a real problem. We've learned some things. The Oath Keepers itself evidently was an FBI plant.
Really?
Yes. And I remember they were trying to get it set up here, and it was the sheriff of Canadian County who's been discredited, who was really big trying to do it. The FBI agent in charge of the January 6th, oversight was the guy that had just been transferred from Michigan, where he was exposed in criminal trials as setting up a plant, coercing people to take part in an attempted
of the governor.
Assassination.
Kidnapping.
Yeah. And these guys got off as saying, no, this was totally a government operation, coercing these guys to follow along. It was a government-led sting. And that's the guy who's in charge of having all these FBI assets in the crowds. Guys who are like, go on in. We have to go in the Capitol. And by the way, there are people who actually had permits to be on Capitol grounds, and they still got prosecuted.
Yeah.
Even though, and they didn't go in the building.
Yeah. Oh no, I know, and it's one of these. We're going to make an example out of you.
Yeah,
that's totally what this is. We're going to make an example out of you. So yeah,
but this is the worst attack on democracy in American history. Don't you know?
Worse than
Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Worse than 9/11.
Yeah.
Don't you know? I mean, this is the garbage that our government is trying to sell.
And the media has promoted it to the point where you got people that actually believe this.
Yeah, and you know why I don't believe that people are buying it? How many tens of thousands do you think show up to a Kamala Harris rally?
Yeah, sure.
Where Trump, it's just assumed you're going to have to handle 20,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, even a little town like where I grew up, where Ken went to college, St. Cloud, Minnesota. The hockey arena, which was the biggest thing they had at the state college, couldn't even really handle more than 10,000. And there were more people outside than inside on a 3-day notice that Trump and Vance are going to be there. This is the kind of groundswell that you have. So the rest is what we call AstroTurf. Fake grassroots. Yeah,
it's funny. There's a YouTube video out where they're interviewing all these people. I think it's in New York, somewhere in there. They're asking them about January 6th. What do you think? And they ask them, what happened on January 6th? Yeah. The people don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, in their minds, how important January 6th was, because see, these people remember something that really happened.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what happened with the Twin Towers, right? Yeah. Everybody knows what happened on Pearl Harbor. Everybody knows what happened when Kennedy got assassinated. Most of them even remember Bobby Kennedy being shot. All of these things, right? But yeah, but January 6th, well, what happened on January 6th, And so, no, but we are in a battle. We are in a battle, and it starts locally. It starts here. It's statewide. It's goes all the way up from the bottom to the top, city to the capital, nation's capital. So that's we're in a really tough time, people. Prayer is the most important thing. We still have to pray. And honestly, now listen, here's my feelings on it, okay? If you're a Bible-believing person, if you believe in Scripture, the end is going to come at some point, okay? It's going to come. You can't be one of these people that's saying, it's going to come, we're going to get raptured out of here, no. It is going to come. We're closer than we've ever been to it, okay? But in the midst of it, we've got to stand and fight. We've got to stand, and you fight through prayer, through fasting, spiritual warfare, and we fight on our knees and on our feet. What we do, you vote, you support, get involved, get on X, get on Facebook, counter these things, because what they're trying to see, we have an alternate medium, and I'm kind of a contrarian. Okay, don't spend all of your time on the farthest right media. Go ahead and get some news off of your further right media, as I'll call it. I won't call it your far right. But get engaged and find out what the other side is saying. Find out so this is how you formulate your arguments and how to fight against this, okay? Because once you know what they're saying, then you go to the other side, you do your research, and you counter it. That's how you have to do this. And then counter it. Get on Twitter and answer this stuff. Get on Facebook, answer these things, okay? Write to your editor. I know a lot of you are ticked off at the Tulsa world, okay? But it doesn't do us any good when it's a vacuum, when the only people on there are the progressives, because they're getting one side, and we've got to get people that write and have answers to these things, and call them to account. This is not true. you're better than that. You see, this is how we win.
Yeah.
You got to start.
Now, you had some challenging press last couple of weeks, and you had to interact with some journalists from the Tulsa world. Their standards are far higher in integrity. I will name a couple. Randy Crable, who sat in this chair many times with us. Cantwell was another. That he wouldn't publish something about you without calling you first.
Right, exactly.
I think we know that.
You give that right.
Right. Now, what the editors do to blow up headlines, Tulsa World got in trouble with that because first they said that you were against tourism using one article, and less than 24 hours later said you're against the arts. You know, like, which is it? Tulsa World can't even figure out what you're against.
Right. Same,
but whatever it is, it must be
same article
bad.
with two different titles.
Yeah. And that's not Cantwell's work. That was his editor's work. So there are some people, and that's what I say, engage in them and try to bring out their better nature.
Right.
And that's what I did here with the Black Wall Street Times. You guys are better than this. And encourage them that they can do better.
Something tells me though that Black Wall Street Times is not better than this.
You may be right, Eddie, but you'd like to be wrong.
Well, here's what really ticks me off. Okay. And maybe I'm reverting back to my, hood days, but I hate it when you got a white guy in a black periodical trying to tell me how black I am or am not.
Yeah.
I want to do like Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase. Dead honky.
Well, I was trying to get Anthony Archie in. ORU student. And because
he's probably been advised, oh, stay away from me. You don't want to get associated with him.
Here's what's going on. You got some white radical women on Tulsa City Council or against candidates for it, trying to tell the black folk what they need. And you and Anthony, as two black men, respectable members of the community. I don't know how many baby mamas you got, but I don't think Anthony has, but you trying to tell the black man how to live and what the values are important.
Right.
And this is condescending. Malcom X said to the black community before he was murdered, he said, your worst enemy is the white liberal. Now, how many Black Wall Street Times are you going to run that quote from Malcom X? No, you're not. Because Nate Morris doesn't conform to what Malcom X says is the biggest danger.
Right.
This is the problem.
And see, there are reasons why I'm an enemy of Nate Morris and certain other people, white people there.
Yeah.
And Lori Dector Wright and others. There are people in town that I would be seen as an enemy of theirs. But I don't care about that. I don't care about them as whatever their deal is. But I am for Tulsa, all of Tulsa. North Tulsa's
right.
See, I don't believe North Tulsa is being properly served.
No, they're not.
No. And I know that Lori Dector Wright, for example, there's an inordinate amount of money to me being spent in Midtown and downtown, as opposed to the various communities.
And highbrow arts.
There you go. And but they then turn around and use people like Nate Morris and others to keep, in my book, the chapter on from the plantation to the kennel.
Yeah. This is from the book, Y'all Have Sinned, which applies to Nate Morris. So run that, Nate.
Yeah.
He's calling you a sinner, but he calls himself a sinner.
Yeah,
too.
we're all all sinner. But it's this thing where they don't get it. They don't understand. What they want to do is essentially put Black Americans in a kennel.
Mm-hmm. They're exploiting.
Where we're supposed to behave like pets.
Yeah.
We become pets.
Yeah.
Instead of plantation workers, now we're pets. You have good pets and bad pets. I'm one of the bad pets. So because I'm not doing what they want me to do, I'm a bad pet. So what
you're an uppity black who deigns to think for yourself.
And so what they would like to do is get the black community. They get their pit bulls, their hunt dogs to go chase me. Okay. And to get me, coerce me back into the kennel.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't happening.
Well,
I've never been a good team player in that. And so, even the GOP understands that I'm a free thinker. And so I am truly for liberty. I am truly a person that believes in freedom, and I'm not going to kowtow to a party. I'm going to kowtow, first of all, to God, and then to seeing people excel, and have freedom. That's all it is. That's all I'm doing. As you remember, as you know, this is not something I've really sought. I actually ran from. I always tell people I've run from office more than running for office. I don't actually, but see, they're making me more and more enthused about doing it by these type of things. They're convincing me more and more that I'm doing the right thing by their attacks.
Yes.
And so I'm becoming more and more charged by these attacks and things than being dissuaded.
Yeah. I want to address something here before we totally get off of this.
Yeah.
You were accused of being against the arts. They finally, Tulsa World finally figured out, okay, it's the arts. Now, last week, one of your longtime business associates, you handled their European tour, who's the Christian group called Striper.
Right.
Metal band, Christian band. Some of the finest Christian men you've known and had the honor of working with.
Yeah, great guys. Seriously, great.
And Eddie, for many years, that was how you provided for your family as a concert promoter. And eventually you started a record label, right? It's some really great music.
Well, let me clarify something. No, I never got paid as a promoter.
Really?
No, we were missionaries, remember? And so with YWAM, and the way it started, Christian artists, when they came to Europe, they didn't want to eat bloodwurst. They didn't want to sleep in barns. That was their picture of, they didn't know where they would be. So they knew I lived over there, and they had done concerts with me here in America. Yeah. So they asked me would I help them. So, and then it kept growing, and I ended up doing.
Was that part of Musicians with the Mission? Was
Musicians for Missions? Yeah, it started, but then I left there and went to Germany.
Right.
And then it was independent on my own end.
Right. So, but you've done a lot on that and committed your life to it. And there are times you're, separated from being at home with the wife and kids because you're making sure that these people safely got around to their venues and stuff and didn't get ripped off by, shysters. So to say that you don't care about the arts is laughable for anybody who actually knows Eddie Huff.
Right.
And, but did you ever hit up the city council for $10 million for your preferred venue? Because Lori Decker Wright cares about the arts as long as it's her form. She's an opera singer.
Right.
The reason we haven't seen her for the last several months is much of the time she's been out on tour as an opera singer rather than out meeting and finding out the needs of her constituents. But are you advocating for renovation of hip hop venues or, or country
or heavy metal venues? So
or $10 million for the King's Ballroom? No, you're not, right? You're not even advocating that they be exempt from paying property taxes because the Brady Auditorium, Keynes Auditorium, they actually have to pay property taxes, unlike the Performing Arts Center.
And nobody guarantees their concerts or they're staying in business.
Right. So why is it?
Or the casinos.
Because I asked my daughter about this. She's not particularly political. And I mentioned that, Eddie's dealing with this claim that he's against the arts guys. And she says, why is our government taking our taxpayers' dollars just to support highbrow arts? That's what she referred to it as. Because they don't do it for rock and roll or country western music.
Well, you and I know the answer. It's who attends the highbrow arts.
Yes. So let's go back to, say, the 1960s, when the first time, we need a performing arts center so that our Philharmonic and our opera has a nice venue and everything, and the ballet, and maybe we'll get some off-Broadway shows to tour and come through. And then part of county government, our TCC, built this amazing auditorium called the Van Trees. It's at the Southeast campus.
Right.
Far, far better than anything at Performing Arts Center. Why are we supporting two such highbrow arts venues?
Yeah, because I've actually watched the Tulsa Philharmonic at the TCC.
Van Trees Auditorium.
Right. And I've also been to one at the Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
But it was Phantom of the Opera that I went to see.
Yeah.
But it was because I wanted to go.
Right.
And I was willing to pay the price. But yes, I mean, my feeling is it should stand on its own.
Yeah.
And the people what was the old thing? Field of Dreams. Mm-hmm. If you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And it's not, if you build it, they will pay.
Yeah.
And
what if you overbuild it and you got redundancies?
So for example, I'll give you an example. Like right now, Broken Arrow's building their big amphitheater. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen the ads on TV.
Yes.
And what are they doing? They're selling box seats, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And lifetime seats and so forth and all. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great idea. I mean, they're selling seats that people to help build this thing.
You're right.
Okay. And they will charge ticket prices.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly. I'll have to ask Deborah Wimpy and Christy the ins and out, what the city's total involvement is going to be. But I suspect it's not going to put the city on the hook for perpetually.
Right.
For that.
No, in fact, you'll pay sales tax on your tickets. And that sales tax, but the only accommodation the city government's doing is it's called TIF, tax increment funding.
Right.
And it isn't the city helping build the facility.
Right.
It's providing proper water, sewer, roads, all of those city utilities, city infrastructure to accommodate people getting in and out.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give you a perfect example. When we were doing the Christmas parade. Mm-hmm. When I started the Christmas parade up on Tulsa Hills and with them.
Well,
and we every year we had to provide police security.
Okay. Eddie, I think it's important we back up. There's always been a downtown Christmas parade until they said Christmas is offensive. We're not going to call it that.
Right.
And then what happened?
Well, I was on the radio and I went down to the city council. Mm-hmm. The city council. Yeah, it's funny how stuff comes around. And I argued for them not to take the word Christmas out. And they say you can't do that. I said, well, but you're not saying we can't say Christmas in the Christmas parade. They said no. So next year when I come back to get a permit for a Christmas parade, you won't stop us. They said no. So then I announced it on KFAQ and 6 people met me at the station, and we said next year we're doing a Christmas parade. And that's how it all began. We did it up at Tulsa Hills.
In this new shopping center called Tulsa Hills, just opened, said, we'd love to have that.
Right. And it was so successful that over the years, eventually the downtown, what they call it, the holiday parade, they folded.
Yeah. They took Christ out of it and it died.
Right. And they said, you can have it again. And so, and then
they begged you to come
Josh
back.
McFarland, right. He said that he had been able to work that out, and then we gave it over to waste control. and Waste Management. I'm sorry, Waste Management.
They're a corporate provider, right?
Right, but it's their Christmas parade now. I just told you, I never really wanted to necessarily be. I'd done all my promotion of tours, so I backed out of it. I gave it over and said, great. And so Waste Management has been running it and doing a good job. So you stepped
up at a time when you were the man to make it happen.
Right. But that's the only thing I wanted to do, to see a Christmas parade back in Tulsa. And so I got the ball rolling, got the team together. The team did its thing. And, we have a Christmas parade.
How was that first year at Tulsa Hills?
Oh, it was incredible. Everybody was just blown away.
Everybody got in and out fine, or?
Well,
no, this is good, Eddie.
No, there was like a mile-long line of people trying to get off Highway 75 to get in.
That's how badly people still wanted a Christmas parade.
Yeah. The police were freaking out. Everybody was freaking out.
Now, did you get TIF funding to widen 75 for your event?
No, we got no money. No. Yeah, and like I said, I never did concerts at any time or any place where we got any kind of funding for anything that we ever did. So you either sink or swim. We're talking Amy Grant, Sandy Patty, Petra,
I mean, these are people who are still friends of Eddie's. Okay, he doesn't throw it around.
Toby Mac, all these,
because Eddie was the guy that met them and found out some incredible people. The churchy folks, the uppity church ladies kind of thing, think that they're a little bit beneath. But then when you see how they really live, and is not at all. I mean, like Stryper, they were, very much family men.
Yeah. That of all the groups I ever dealt with, I was worried because, we've heard negative stories. And then when I actually toured with them, it was the best experience I've ever had. I mean, they were big time RCA Records, and they took care of us. We were in Amsterdam. They put us in the American Hotel, which was like right on the Lights plane, which is like Piccadilly Circus, and 5-star hotel. And I won't go into a long story, but I mean, the guys just always acted as gentlemen, really good Christian guys. And the performance is phenomenal. If you don't like metal music, you won't like it. But if you're into heavy metal music, they were great.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Right.
But as you can tell, I do like heavy metal music, among my other things.
Oh, this guy's amazing because layers.
Yeah. And what's crazy is they were just here last Monday night. Yeah. And but I had a campaign event, so I couldn't even go, which was sad. Friends of mine went. But anyway, it was a good experience.
To say Eddie's not for the arts, that way ain't gonna fly to anybody who knows Eddie.
I lived in Amsterdam where you had the Rembrandt's Museum, or they call it the Rijks Museum. What is Reich? The Kingdom's Museum. Then you had Van Gogh's house, and you had, I mean, so much art and everything there in Holland. And
didn't you know Res Band was the original, to me, heavy metal of Christian rock?
Yeah, but they were not as heavy as Stryper.
Right, but you took Res Band and brought him to Downtown Square, I think in Amsterdam.
Oh man.
I hear you got in trouble with the government.
Yeah, we shut the stock exchange down because we did it right. I didn't know it was the stock exchange. I didn't know it was the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. And it was in the middle of the day. It was like about 1 p.m.
Yeah, an outdoor concert.
It was called the Boersplein. Boers means stock. The stock market, the Boersplein or the place. But anyway, and it was cut out, it was like buildings on this side.
Oh,
and the stock market building is this big building.
Oh, the sound must have been amazing.
And then it was the Dam Rock, which is the main street that leads right into the center of town from the central station. And so and they cranked up and I look up and all these windows, and everybody was looking down from these windows. And it was so loud that it shut the Amsterdam Stock Exchange down. And then, of course, I didn't find out until the next day when the mayor of Amsterdam called us in. We were banned for like 2 years from doing any more street stuff in Amsterdam. But it was a wonderful concert.
So see, Eddie's been around the music scene, the arts and stuff. But he doesn't try to get the government to subsidize his opera career or the venue he sings in. Well, Eddie doesn't sing.
Thank you for clarifying
he does
that.
A somewhat good Barry White impersonation. I'll give you that.
Don't even try it. I won't even try it.
All right.
So listen. So what else is in the news? We've got a vice presidential debate coming up.
Yes. Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah,
that may be. Well, I don't know if there's going to be another presidential one, but if Kamala's smart, she won't do another one because I think they'll be hip to her game this time. But the vice presidential debate should be pretty interesting. I'll be interested to see if JD is up to the task.
JD, I think it's harder to rattle JD than Trump. Yeah. Kamala's strategy was clearly to just rattle him.
Yeah.
You know, and Trump, I think he was so
he went for the bait.
Stuff. I think he did. Early on, it wasn't so bad. But, Trump missed some golden opportunities. The first time that David Weir tried to discredit his statement about Springfield, Ohio's cat eaters, he should have said, now, David, if you're going to debate with me, go share her microphone. That's what I would have said.
No, that's a good point. That's really good.
So Trump missed some things. Yeah. And they all did it only to Trump.
I know.
She says ridiculous stuff that should have been
questioned and dealt with. Yeah, no, you're right.
And by the way, the woman was actually a personal friend of Kamala Harris and set her up on the date to the guy she eventually married.
Well, here's my deal. Mm-hmm. When they first announced that it was going to be ABC that was doing the debate,
the Mickey Mouse Company,
that was my why. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? Mm-hmm. Why would you let ABC do a debate? Mm-hmm. It's almost like a kamikaze move. Yeah. I mean, seriously, it was suicide. I mean, why would you have people that you know hate you do a debate?
Yeah.
My idea of a true debate would be to have, do a couple of debates, but in one of them you do ABC, CBS, Fox. Next one you do Newsmax, CNN, and maybe MSNBC. Another one you do, what's the new one? News Nation. Give everybody, but you always have a conservative one in there and then have them ask. See, that way they also can ask targeted questions to the other person.
Okay, kind of like the old Meet the Press.
Yeah.
Where they'd have multiple journalists independent from your company.
Right. Wall Street, get a Wall Street Journal reporter or something, want some of the more conservative or independent people to ask the question, but at least it's fair. You don't get two CNN, two MSNBC, two ABC, CBS, NBC people doing it because you're not going into a fair fight. That's how I look at it. Yeah. I want to be fair to the other side too, because it wouldn't look fair whether it's fair or not, but it wouldn't look fair if you did it if you only had, say, Fox and Newsmax and had Kamala, doing it. They would never, ever agree to that.
Yeah, I think at this point, our best we could hope for would be News Nation. I think Dan Abrams and even Chris Cuomo.
Yeah, and they've got the new guy. What is his name? He was a young guy over at Fox, and he's over at News Nation now. He's actually pretty good. I actually like the guy. I can't think of his name right now, but he's pretty good. Oh, and the girl, Ashley Banfield's over there, and then there's she's the one from CNN.
Yeah, Banfield got thrown off MSNBC. She wasn't woke enough.
Yeah, and the other one apparently wasn't woken up for CNN. What is her name? You'd know her. She got dark hair.
I think Chris Cuomo is rehabilitating himself, rehabbing well. I mean, he's calling out the left now. Did I say something funny?
Yeah, you did.
Rehabbing?
No.
Rehabilitating?
Wait, that's not what you said.
Let's pretend that's what I said.
Yeah, you'll have to go listen to this.
Okay.
But anyway. Okay.
But you know who my favorite would be? And he said he flat out won't do it, is Joe Rogan.
Oh, well, yeah, Joe Rogan, man, he would be incredible. Yeah, he would be a really good one.
Yeah.
But no, but it'll be interesting. This debate might be as watched, if not more watched, than the presidential one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you want to find out who these guys are.
Yeah.
Because, really, I mean, nobody's ever seen, I want to say Lutz. What's her name? What is her vice president? What's his name?
Tim Walz. Tampon Tim.
Yeah. TT.
Yeah.
Yeah, TT. Yeah. No, nobody's really. Have you seen him?
Oh yeah, because I'm from Minnesota and I go up there now.
Oh, okay.
Here's the problem with Minnesota. All of their media statewide is controlled by inside the Twin Cities loop. Okay, the 494 loop, and because there's stations outside, but they got bought up by the stations inside the loop. And so all the narrative is coming from the radical left. So Tim Walz got away with everything. And he is so hated outside of the 494 Twin Cities loop. So hated. So that's really the issue with what, Tim really needs to be challenged. And I don't know that it's going to happen unless you got someone like News Nation or, someone like that. And see, they aren't even my favorite. I'd rather be Newsmax, but at least I'm honest enough to know that Newsmax is more conservative in their mindset. I want somebody who still claims to be like the McNeil-Lear report used to be. And often the ones who moderated the debate, Jim McNeil, because he tried to claim I'm PBS, I'm government supported, I'm down the middle.
Right.
Not that he was, but
at least he claimed he was.
Yeah. And can I talking to John O'Connor, our attorney general, when he was announcing up for re-election. Mm-hmm. Well, for election, he was appointed first. And we're standing outside of the Tulsa Area Republican Assembly meeting, met down at Golden Corral. I said, John, none of the media is on your side. None of them. I mean, Channel 6 Griffin kept referring to January 6th as the insurrection. The insurrection. In most of the media now is dependent on these these college interns. Randy Crable is becoming an extinct species, the career journalist. Guys like Aaron Brilbeck was with Channel 9 for long. He finally quit and went to work for the sheriff's office, their public relations guy over in Oklahoma City. He said they don't want to pay for career journalism. And so you got all these people fresh out of, the OU school of, leftist journalism.
Right.
That's our problem with. And so we don't have that. And now Griffin bought out KFAQ and then
killed it.
Yeah. They waited for Pat Campbell to die and then they killed the format. They said, we need another sports radio, which lasted less than 2 years. And then now they're just a rebroadcast of the news. That's all they are. And
what they did, they moved Sports Animal to the old 1170.
Well, no, Rick Corey was hired. He used to be with KRMG.
Right.
He started a new entity. It wasn't Sports Animal. They're a different machine.
Right, but it's sports, isn't it?
It's sports.
Right.
But Sports Animal was a particular station.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, right. But they do have a sports, but they moved it to 1170. And in the 1300, where Sports Animal became the Patriot. What they did, they flipped them.
Yeah, but Griffin doesn't own 1300. That's iHeart owns 1300.
Oh, that's right. They sold it, didn't they? That's right. I forgot. It is iHeart.
Yeah,
right.
and iHeart saw the opportunity to bring in a very low budget talk radio.
Right.
Now they're bringing back your old predecessor, KFAQ. The guy who started it was Michael Del Giorno.
Right. And I think they're on FM now too, though. I heard somewhere they are on FM.
That would help their signal.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, it was horrible.
And then they have Lee Matthews, who kind of calls it in from Oklahoma City, but at least it's somewhat Oklahoma.
Right. Issues. Yeah, I was funny the first time. It's about 6 months into it, and he was talking about, we're taking a call from so-and-so in Coweta.
Yeah. That's how they're calling it.
Yeah.
And at least Del Giorno knows Coweta because he lived here for years.
Right.
Del Giorno not only became program manager for KRMG, and then when he left them, he started the Buzz 1430 Sports. Mm-hmm. And then he was with them for a time. And then he went to the old KVOO and said, hey, let's start another talk radio station for 1170 KFAQ. He literally applied to FCC for the call letters KFAQ. And
see, I would love to get together a group of money people here in town and start a new talk radio.
Are you listening, folks? This is good.
Doctor, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I want to move to something else. A volleyball team has been praised for refusing to play against a trans player spiking 80-mile-an-hour balls at girls. Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, at some point, see, it won't stop. It won't stop until it bites these leagues in the butt. Yeah. So if the NCAA won't do anything, if the teams will all of a sudden, we're boycotting until you take the guys off.
Let me ask you this. Do you know of any sports leagues that allow chromosome males to play in women's leagues? I don't think any pros do it.
No, not the pros. No.
Exactly.
Right.
It's their careers.
Right. That's true. But see, that shows something. That's an interesting point, that none of the pros do it. Right.
Yeah. So in tennis, when Navratilova, I'm trying to remember, she's from
Navratilova.
Yeah, I know. It's right. Her coach was the first guy that went through a sex change and tried to compete in female tennis back in the 70s. And they banned her, banned him. It's a him because, why do I say him? Because his chromosomes say it's a him. I'm talking about his physical body, not his emotional state.
Right.
And so he became a coach, and he was her coach for a long time. So the pros have dealt with this way back in the 70s.
Well, and she is against the biological males.
Yeah, even though her coach is one.
Exactly.
And, and she is a classical feminist. She's a lesbian,
right? From
what I've read.
Yes.
But, to me, here's the thing. Feminists, classical feminists, you've been thrown under the bus. They don't need you anymore. Now they want the trans people, and that's what's happened to women's rights. It's been co-opted. Just like, right after the George Floyd murder, police in Tulsa did some respectable things. They understood this is an important thing. So they actually got with some activists and did a rally up at the UCAT Center there, up Greenwood. And the police actually handled parking for that event. And my daughter and her husband went, and it's Khalil, he's black. I was going to go with them. At the last minute, I couldn't, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because the woman who was handling it got sick, had to leave. Some other people came in, co-opted, and that's when you had them getting up on I-244 and the horse trailer incident and the guy who falls off the bridge and is paralyzed.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter was said to be the heart and soul of that protest. Black Lives Matter as an organization has exploited blacks They're doing nothing for blacks.
Right.
They're just claiming to speak on behalf of them.
And getting rich.
Yeah.
Buying houses.
Yes, exactly. So this is what I'm getting at is the old classic liberal, issues and advocacy has been supplanted.
Right.
They're thrown under the bus. I'm sorry. I got long on that. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just trying to see here on this argument. It's too hard.
Yeah, we're talking about sports and the volleyball team. That's when I hijacked your issue.
Right. But yeah, the whole trans deal and getting involved in women's sports until women stand up and say, this is crazy. And see, I understand it's a tough deal because scholarships are involved in college. Mm-hmm. You can lose your scholarships, but in the long run, if University of Connecticut, Michigan, Ohio State, mm-hmm. Alabama, Georgia, if they say we're not competing anymore, it'll kill the NCAA sport. NCAA will get religion real fast mm-hmm. because in the bottom line, it's all about this. It's all about the green.
Yeah.
And if nobody is playing and they're not having tournaments, they're not having games, it's over. And they will somehow find a reason to convene and decide that we're not allowing biological males. And now, if you want to make, there have been talks about if you're a male after the age of 10 or 12 or some age like that, mm-hmm. but then, for women, say this is for the safety's sake, okay? Mm-hmm. But then again, you get into the situation of, are you serious? You're going to transition somebody at age 10, at age 12? I mean, who knew? I didn't even like girls, until I was 12 years old. Stuff like that. It's just a crazy. It's a crazy thing. Once you start dealing into so many layers, so many avenues that can go and questions that you have and things you have to deal with, that it just makes it more and more complicated. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, I don't think it's fair to have women and girls playing against biological males.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter, first time she went out to practice, trying to make it onto the NOAA volleyball team. Sophie, team captain, who went on to get a Division I college scholarship in volleyball, spiked it, hit my daughter smack in the face, and that was it. My daughter didn't go back again. There's things the public doesn't know. For instance, the net being, I think 9 inches shorter for college women's volleyball than men's. Okay, that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
I coached high school tennis, and I really was focused on the doubles game. One of the most dangerous aspects of tennis is in the mixed doubles tournaments. Mm. When, some of my kids would have to take 110, 120 mile an hour serves. Well, you imagine overhead slam at the net. Mm-hmm. And in doubles, it's whichever team gets up to the net first. And when they're both trying to, what's your reaction time on an overhead slam from a guy 10, 20 feet away from your head?
Yeah, but
it's dangerous.
Yeah, but at the same time, just think of a guy 110 miles an hour hitting you in the gonads.
That too. But so what I'm saying is,
that's dangerous.
It doesn't matter how feminine or masculine you feel. It has to do with the biology.
No, you're right.
Here's where the Olympics completely gets it wrong, and the NCAA completely gets it wrong, is they go on a blood test of the hormones in your blood now, not the hormones for the last 10 years that have been bulking you up doing a massive body.
Yeah, but see, here's about the Olympics. Olympics is left it to the various sports because there are a lot of Olympic sports. For example, they won't let men into the track and field events. Mm-hmm. Okay. Gymnastics, mm-hmm. but boxing, which is really crazy to me.
Yes.
One of the most dangerous ones, period. They allow
But our NCAA has totally given in, which makes me like, why go to a college that allows that mentality? Yeah. You call it higher learning when anybody in the health sciences know that you have natural hormones coursing through your body for 10 years, you're going to bulk up. And that's why if you're going to say, hey, I'm competing as a female, then you have had to have been free of testosterone since puberty.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you've been doping and you have a lifetime advantage.
Right.
That's where I'm at on it. And I think science will back me up.
And, it's funny, but, just like, the NCAA, I think, have they decided? I think they decided to give Reggie Bush his Heisman, haven't they? Or are they still fighting over that?
Cam Newton. I mean, how many of them?
Well, no, Cam Newton, he got his because they never could prove that.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Cam.
Or Eric Dickerson.
Or what? Yeah, that was.
I mean, they destroyed SMU's football program.
But they didn't do anything to the Pony Express, the two guys,
Yeah.
Eric Dickerson or whatever his name was. But anyway, but Reggie, they took his away.
Yeah.
They OJ'd him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I know he was suing about something, but man, where was I headed with that?
Yeah.
What were we talking about? We were talking about the.
Well, I had said that it's for life that if you've had testosterone during your puberty, adolescent years, you've got a lifetime advantage that there's no way of getting equity. Right.
Yeah. And I don't know where. See, I think I just don't understand the NCAA in their reasoning behind allowing trans.
The only thing I come up with is political agenda, because this is nothing but a political agenda.
Yeah. To me, it serves nobody. It doesn't really, because the number of transgender athletes is not that large, but what you're actually doing, you're encouraging guys that fail at the sport in the men's game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay. Failed at the men's. He couldn't break the top, 20 men's deal.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden he decides he's going to become a woman swimmer, even though he never, ever had any kind of sex change. He just grew his hair long and started wearing a women's bathing suit. And so that's basically it. He's just started identifying as a woman, and now he's competing against women.
Right.
And so what sense does that make? That makes absolutely zero sense.
Well, and to hear, what's her name? The woman that he tied her for the national championship.
Yeah, I know you, the blonde. Yeah.
They get ready for the award ceremony, and she's told by the NCAA officials to say, no, the trophy has to go to him. They never made her a duplicate trophy. This is the first time they ever declared two champions, but you can see their bias because they said he has to get to keep the trophy. Why? Because he's a man competing in women's sports.
Oh, I know we were talking about taking away trophies. And they never took the Pony Express's trophy, but they took Reggie's away, and he was suing them to get the trophy back. And so I don't know if he ever did or not, but that was over the NIL because they took his away for getting paid, and of course the other guys got wealthy in college.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, money has really corrupted college sports, and I'm not blaming the athletes as much as I'm blaming the college presidents. They've gone for the big bucks. I was on the way here this morning. I was thinking about it, because right now Kansas State is competing against OSU, which to me are the top two historic Big 8 schools that are still in the league. OU has now run for the money, and we've got it to where the SEC is the de facto national championship.
Right.
because OSU, they will be lucky to be in the top half of the SEC this year.
My fear is that you will never see another OU top 5.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be in that league, and it's still going to be you're already seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Texas. It drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Texas is number 1 now, right? They put them ahead of Georgia.
Yeah.
So
they might be better than Georgia.
Well, maybe. I don't know. We don't know until they play. But last year they put Texas and Alabama up there ahead of them. And even though it's unproven, it's just there's a certain pecking order, okay?
Yeah.
And I think it ends up being political to some extent. They blame the state. And I don't think OU is going to be able to recruit as well as some of these other schools again.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of it as well. And as it goes down the line, I just think OU made a big mistake. I think OU really made a mistake by going this route, because in the SEC there will be an also ran. And the pecking order is going to be Alabama, Georgia, Texas. Now Tennessee is up there, which we saw what happened last week.
They're good.
Well, they are good. That's true.
Well, yeah, and they're being led by a former Heisman Trophy. He didn't win the Heisman, won the national champ.
Right.
Josh Heupel.
Right, with OU.
Right.
And then you've still got Florida in there. And then, so it's and LSU. You still got LSU, which OU plays at the end. They play LSU and Alabama in the last 2 games. So OU should be okay the next couple of weeks, because the teams they're playing are not that.
But now I know you were a Texas Tech football player.
Mm-hmm.
I know you still have it, but you remember back in the 70s when the de facto national championship game was whenever Michigan played Ohio State.
Right.
They were that good.
Right.
And one of them gets to go to the Rose Bowl, the other doesn't.
Right.
And today it's Alabama, Georgia.
Right. Well, there was a time when it was Texas OU. You remember? Oh, no, I'm sorry, Texas Arkansas.
That's before I paid attention.
Right. See, Texas and Arkansas were in the same conference. It was the Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
And that was a big game. In the Cotton Bowl, it was Texas and Arkansas. Because
Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, they were part of that Arkansas team.
Right.
Barry Switzer, wasn't he?
I don't know if Barry Switzer. Oh, no. That was before Barry's time coaching. Yeah. That was back in the 60s.
No, I'm telling you, he was a player, wasn't he?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought all those guys were former Arkansas guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He might have been. Right. And but Texas ended up winning that game. And but yeah, so that was back when those were the powerhouses, and back Ole Miss was but Texas and Arkansas were the big two.
Right. But what we saw was there was a time when the Big Ten was really pretty dominant.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And the 70s.
Michigan and Ohio State, yeah.
And then it became now the SEC is dominant.
Right.
Even more so than I thought the Big Ten was.
There was a period of USC and UCLA, too, remember? They were big.
And you always had the winner of those 2 games played the Michigan, Ohio State.
Right.
Because the Rose Bowl was always those 2 conferences.
The granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
Jim Simpson here.
Yeah. But anyway, by the way, K-State, I told you last week I thought might be the best. Well, they lost to BYU.
Yeah, right now, was it you telling me it's BYU and Utah?
Right now, the top of the Big 12 is Utah and BYU, 2 teams that weren't part of the
newcomers.
Yes,
those newcomers. We couldn't keep those newcomers in.
And right now, Kansas State's hosting Oklahoma State and beating them pretty handily.
Ooh.
Third quarter, it's 35-13. So OSU is likely to lose 2 in a row. Yeah, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, I wondered about them this year.
Yeah, OU is playing Auburn today at Auburn. That's good. Listen, every week's going to be tough.
Yeah, see, if they lose against Auburn, though, coach is in trouble.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's done. He's done.
Wow. That's sad because personally I like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Brent's, I think he's a good guy, but sometimes it's tough following the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what.
It's usually the guy that follows the guy that follows the guy.
Yeah.
It's usually not the guy that follows the guy.
Boy, Heifel is the real deal.
Yeah. We could see that when he was in Central Florida.
Yeah.
Heifel.
See, that was the reason everybody, who's Central Florida, when I was saying invite, because I named 4 teams, you add these to the Big 12 and you will restore the conference. And they did. And everybody said, Central. I said, look at Heifel. And then he left to go to Tennessee. But then Malzahn's come in after winning a national championship at Auburn. And I think UCF belongs there. It's Houston right now that's disappointing.
Right.
They really
they mentioned last week with Heupel, they mentioned the Leach connection. And if you I read Leach's book. It's called Swing Your Sword, and it tells the story of how Heupel came there. And they talked to Heupel about it, and I think he got a lot of what he. Who he is from Leach. I don't know if you know the story, but what happened.
Last week you mentioned that Leach was the one who recruited Heupel.
Right. He was going to go to a junior college. He was at a junior college, and then he was going to go to some other college in Utah.
Yeah.
And Leach flew him in. And they spent the whole, that's right, we did talk about it. Sorry if I'm repeating this. But anyway, and the rest is history. But I think he learned a lot of what he has from Mike. And, it's amazing, the Leach tree that they call it, the coaches he has all over the country now. What's the name? Kingsbury.
Okay.
He's at Washington Redskins. No,
is he not?
The Washington, whatever they are.
He made the jump after leaving Tech to Arizona Cardinals. Was there for a little while.
Right. And then he went to USC as an offensive coordinator. Right. And now he's the offensive coordinator for the Washington
Commanders. Yeah. So anyway, what else was I going to bring up today? Last week we talked about, be careful. There's a sheriff on the loose in Kentucky, but actually he's in jail. We're finding out more about this second assassination attempt that it came out this week. The guy has 6 cell phones they can't unlock that were in his car. I mean, this is...
They can't just take him and force his thumb on it to unlock him.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a Fourth Amendment issue. This is the struggle I have. I'm big on civil rights, but these are hard cases. Mm-hmm. And
take him offshore and then unlock the phones.
Well,
I don't really. Plus, whether they could or not, I don't think they really want.
Well, the thing AT&T is reported to just handing over all our metadata to the NSA all the time. I'm impressed that Governor DeSantis is saying, no, we are launching our own investigation. And he's blowing the whistle on the feds, saying they're refusing to share information with our investigators. This is a war, a turf war. That's going on between, law enforcement investigations.
I forgot I have an appointment at 2:00.
All right, so we're going to have to call it.
Yes, sorry, people.
That's about all we have for this week.
All right, thanks. We're just rambling now anyway. Hey, God bless everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Right. Keep your eyes shut.